We are in the Scottish Rite Archive, and Brother Chris Ruli, our assistant grand historian, has found this book.
It's a manual.
What kind of manual? And by who?
It was written by a Mason.
Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel. I'm Maynard Edwards, 33rd degree, along with Assistant Grand Historian, Brother Chris Ruli. On this channel, we talk about all things Freemasonry, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, from history to how to join to philosophy. But right now, we're focused on some stuff that is in our archive, which is basically brand new, fully restored. And Brother Chris has been going through things in the archive, and every once in a while he will run up to my office, as he did moments ago.
This is a live recording session.
And say, stop what you're doing, you need to come down and take a look at this. And he never disappoints. And this is a book that is close to 250 years old.
This is, depending on how you pronounce his name, General Friedrich von Steuben. This is his journal that he wrote, that we now, in the American military, you know, we have the Army book, the Blue Book. They commissioned that book. This field manual was written by him during the American Revolutionary War. And in fact, this edition is the second or third edition. It was printed in 1782, which means this is printed during the war. And in September 1783 is the war, when the war ends. So this is one of the copies of his book, Field Manual, that was given to presumably troops to set up, you know, the military, set up a camp. I mean, it's really detailed, as you can tell.
First thing is that this is Sylvester Skinner's book, which is pretty cool that the guy, the soldier who had this has signed it. So we've got, and we've got all the provenance here. Now, the purpose of this would have been to hand out to individual soldiers and to kind of give them the battle plan.
Yeah, so it's actually quite detailed. You can, as we go through, you can see that these are sort of, Steuben lays out basically, you know, how entrenchments should work, how troops should be organized. There's, in fact, a really nice, we were just commenting about it before, there's in the back here, there's actually one where he lays out how a camp should be laid out, right? So if you're in a pay camp, here's an example here of how the military should be set up, the guard, where do the guards are placed. I mean, this is really detailed. So this would be for an officer to help lay out his troops. And here's what we were talking about here. So you can see this lays out where the tents should be, where the surgeon, where the paymaster, more importantly. And then we were looking, what was a sutler?
Yeah, and a sutler, as it turns out, is a merchant that follows around the camp. So and they said, we're here are the sutler's wagons. So if you had a guy who was, you know, selling shirts or pots and pans and things, like, they had spaces where those guys should set up in relation to the rest of the camp, which is pretty cool.
And so you gotta remember, Steuben comes in after, or actually during, Valley Forge. So this is a period after major battles. Washington's really in retreat, and so he sets up this manual to help officers train and prepare for the next spring of battles. And so he is thinking about everything. He's thinking about how to set up a camp. He's thinking about how the camp should be organized. He's thinking about how camps should, or the organization should move, how a battalion or a unit should move. And so this is very detailed indeed.
And it was printed by order of John Jay, who was president of the Continental Congress at the time, 1779, when this was ordered printed. And John Jay also went on to become first Supreme Court Justice. He was I think he was a French ambassador, but also another Freemason.
We also have provenance about how the book came to us, which is great. We've got letters and documents about the gentleman, I believe, is from California.
Yep.
Brother Master Mason, who reached.
Well, I think he was from Minnesota, but he was snowbirding in California because he was spending his winter in Huntington Beach, it says.
There you go.
And he donated it. And what's kind of cool is he donates it, but he also complains about a few, you know, he's a Freemason. So he had a few complaints about things in here, that here's this book. And by the way, while I've got you, here's my list of grievances, which, you know, hey, if you've got the ear of the guy, why not?
Well, more importantly, thank you for the book.
Sure. How important is provenance in something like this? Because this, while the book is cool to know where it came from and because there's nothing in here that screams this is an authentic first original copy, other than when you dig into it a little bit. But now having this, how important is this to this?
Well, whenever we get donations, we always ask for a little bit of documentation about the individual. It just helps us track the story about where these documents come from and where these relics come from. So whenever you reach out or want to send a donation to anyone, it doesn't have to be us, to any organization, having some type of documentation, receipts where you got it, stories, any information that helps the curator figure out where this came from, how did this get to our collection, helps add a little bit of value, but it also tells the story of the relic.
As we get into the 250th anniversary of the United States, things like this, it's so important to realize the role that our fraternity played in the development of the country, in the American Revolution. I mean, the guy who wrote the book on how military order should be set up.
And was used all the way into the War of 1812.
Right. That guy was a Mason. The guy who ordered the book printed was a Mason. So to disconnect the fraternity from the 250th celebration isn't something that's doable. They're woven together just so tightly.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fraternity's values and principles certainly aligned with the revolution's values and principles. And so I think having, Steuben write the manual, having Jay authorize its publication, perhaps it was printed by Mason. We're not really exactly sure. It was printed in Hartford, Connecticut, this third edition. So you can certainly tell, while Masonry was not necessarily at the forefront, the values and principles certainly were there.